You know, when all these things were happening to me, I was angry at myself. I was very angry at my father. I was angry at God. You know, where's God? It's like, you know, for a poker player, it's like you get dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
And I had been dealt a bad hand.
Nothing to deserve it.
No. And so I was angry at God, but he was there. And I found out years later that I was never alone. He was always there. When I was in the hospital, Code Blue, it just happened to be that a doctor was there from Amsterdam who was visiting as part of a, I don't know when you call it, a conference. And he was the one that treated me, and it was just a miracle that I came back.
That you even survived.
Yes.
Well, I wonder if there are people watching who would remember Rochdale.
Absolutely.
Those who remember that university experiment in downtown Toronto, Rochdale, became the place where the hippies and the drugs just abounded.
Yes. Rochdale is where I would go to get my drugs. And one day I go to see my dealer, and he says, "Tim, I can't sell you any drugs." And I said, "Why not?" He says, "Because I found the Lord, and I'm not doing that anymore."
In 1972, at the peak, the catacombs were seeing 2,000 to 2,500 people on a Thursday night.
Yes.
This was cooking.
Oh, it was amazing, yes. And so it was after one of the Thursday night services that I went home, and I fell on my knees and asked Jesus into my heart. And there was a change in me. And
I'm just going to help you be honest
Yeah.
here. And many will identify. The struggle you had was ongoing. You
Ongoing.
struggled with sin. And what did you ultimately say to God?
I don't want to waste your time. I'm sorry. Just one thing I ask is that day when I stand before you on Judgment Day, please remember that I gave it my best shot. And I walked away from God.
That he never let go of you.
I let go of him, but he never let go of me.
A miracle, a crisis and a miracle.
Yes,
You're now married. You have a 3-year-old son,
yes,
and he drowns.
yes. Lake Aquitaine, I was visiting my brother-in-law and his wife, and we were just having a drink, and the kids were playing in the complex, in the townhouse complex. And we lost track of time, and all of a sudden my stepdaughter runs in screaming, "I'll never see my brother again." And I say, "Where's your brother?" She says, "In the lake." And barefoot, I run to the lake. This is March, it's cold out. And I see a stranger with my son in his arms walking out of the lake. And he hands him to me. And I start CPR, and nothing's working. And I cry out to God. I said, "Please, don't take my son, anything." Well, this stranger, I believe, to this day, I believe it was an angel. He was an angel.
Your son had been in the water, underwater.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
We start like a sit-up, bringing him forward, and all this water is coming out, seaweed, all this junk, still not breathing, and we just kept with it. And more junk came out, and then finally he coughed and he cried.
Was saved. And you ended up going back to church.
Oh,
Your
yes.
relationship with the Lord was restored
It was.
in a marvelous group called Band of Brothers.
Yes,
The challenge one day would be the wound.
yes.
What is the wound? And God, what did God say to you?
All right. When I went to Band of Brothers, I had no idea what this was. Somebody was praying for me. Somebody was praying, who should I bring? And God kept giving him my name. I didn't know this man very well, but he kept praying and he kept calling me. And finally he wore me down, and next thing I know, I'm driving to Ottawa to this Band of Brothers retreat, boot camp, we'll call it. And I knew at that point that something was wrong, and there was a wound that I was carrying. And so afterwards, there were small groups that started. It was in the small group that we were about to go into that chapter of the wound. And it was the night before the small group that I had an encounter with God where he came to me in the middle of the night. And it was like I was in a cocoon of love. And he's speaking to me. And he's saying, you've carried that wound long enough. Give it to me.
It's like that seaweed coming out so that you could
was.
breathe and live.
And I'm saying to God, can I trust you? It's God. But I didn't trust him until that point. And when I finally said yes, and he said that he wanted to be my father. And I allowed him to father me. And it was like that junk was just coming out of me, just pouring out.
And you say forgiveness has been the key.
It's been the key.
Forgiving even that abuser, the
I
man
had
who
to
raped
forgive my father.
your father.
I had to forgive the man that raped me. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive God. I'd been angry at God for all those years.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if your heart has been stirred, I've had people walk past me just weeping because there's something they've carried forever and never told anyone. We have people who are confidential, caring, compassionate, and waiting to listen to you, to pray for you. This could be your day of liberation. Don't miss that opportunity. There's a perfect parent who already knows, and he's waiting to bless you.